Now the first thing we're going to use our center line for here is to line up this little jig that we've made. This little jig was designed and built to center the holes in the middle of the transom. These holes are going to be used to put galvanized rod in here. Now we've spaced them on here. These are 22 inches apart, and I believe these are 50 inches apart right here. And it spaces between the knees and different things. We have to put this jig on the edge of this piece of material so that we drill the holes in opposite directions. These are going to be drilled in this direction, and the other holes are going to be drilled in that direction. But we want them to place exactly opposite of each other in all respects, as far as the width this way and the spacing from the edge. If they don't, it's going to be awfully hard for us to put 4 pieces of rod in there and then clamp these pieces together. So we stand up the first plank, which is the bottom plank on the transom, and we take our little drilling jig and clamp it onto the bottom edge of that plank, lining up the center line and the very outboard edge of the jig, even with the outboard edge of the transom plank. And we're just going to use that as a little drilling guide to get us down in there maybe 3/4 of an inch. And I'm using a machinist drill bit. Now, that's not the right bit for drilling wood, but it is the right bit for me because I don't want the drill to rotate around and chew up my drilling jig. And these things will rotate really nicely in that hole, nice and clean without doing any damage. And what I'm going to do is only drill in there about 3/4 of an inch and switch bits later on to drill the hole quite a bit deeper. What do you think, Andrew?
Away from you just a touch.
So what I do is I just stand square up near the hole, and it doesn't have to be right up to the hole. It's just like a guide for me so that I can square my drill bit up to that square like so, or parallel the square with my drill bit. We've got 4 holes in that jig, and we want 4 holes lined up into our first piece. And then once we've got them drilled down in there, maybe 3/4 of an inch, we don't really need to go past that. We're just trying to align the holes or position the holes. Now we just unclamp that little jig, flip it upside down, and put it onto the other piece. That's what makes it line up properly on the next piece. And then use the exact same holes and the exact same drill bit just to drill down maybe 3/4 of an inch in the other one. And like I said, it's all about positioning here and not really about alignment. Now we're finishing up the little pilot holes that we used the little jig to drill. And now that that's done, we can just take the jig off, and we're going to drill the depth of the hole with another type of drill bit. We're going to square a little line over from the center of that hole to the edge of the lumber there, and then take a square and draw a line down the side of the lumber, and we're going to clamp a little tiny stick alongside that line that's just going to help us line up our drilling. Now my intention here is to keep this drill bit lined up as closely as possible with that piece of wood that I've got clamped alongside the line. I don't want it to be any more than maybe a degree off or something like that. I want it to be as close as possible so that I don't have to bend the rod when I put it into the 2 holes. And my jig has made it so that the 2 holes are right directly across from each other, but that really doesn't have anything to do with the direction of the hole. That's kind of up to me as I drill it right here, right now. I've taken this very small 1/2-inch ship auger here, and I've shortened the cutter up so that it's just a little bit less than half the diameter that I'm trying to drill, and that's what makes one of these drills really perform properly. It drills very, very nicely. I don't have to push it awfully hard, and I can actually pull the drill backwards and clean the drill bit out while it's rotating in exactly the same direction that I used to drill the holes. That's the way it's supposed to work right there. And then what we're going to do is use those holes to drive a piece of 1/2-inch rod down in the hole 6 inches deep. And of course they'll extend 6 inches into the other piece alongside of it. And that just keeps them lined up really, really nicely on edge so that the transom will always look nice and neat. And the whole idea of that is so that we can crowd these planks up again anytime we want in the future. These were 1/2-inch by 12 carriage bolts galvanized, and we've just sawn the heads off, so they're nice 1/2-inch round stock. And we've actually tapered the end with a grinder a little bit here so that when we hammer them down in there, they don't mushroom on that end too much. We're going to have to check them for that because you didn't want that whole end of that thing to be any bigger than the hole. Now I'm going to rub these drifts with a little bit of beeswax here to provide a little bit of lubrication so that they drift down in there a little bit easier. They're pretty rough. This is galvanization, and it's a hot dip galvanization, so it's pretty rough. And this just allows it to slip along quite a bit easier. So now we're driving our drifts down with a little pin maul into the first piece. They go in 6 inches. Once they're drifted all the way down into the bottom of the hole, so it makes a different sound when they hit the bottom of the hole, so you can tell when they're there. That's it. So now we're going to apply some polysulfide in between the 2 pieces. We're going to just draw about 4 beads down there, and there really isn't any need to spread it in any way. It's very loose stuff, so when we draw the pieces up together, it'll just spread itself. And now we're going to lay it down and line the drifts up with the other piece and apply some bar clamps and get squeezing it together. Now there's no secret to clamping this thing together. You're just using some bar clamps, some nice sturdy bar clamps, and we've got 4 of them on here, so they got quite a bit of power, and we just alternate back and forth from one bar clamp to the other. And it's going right in there. We're not playing foosball here. This is actually building the transom of a skiff. We've squeezed it up nice and tightly, and you can see that it's squeezing the sealer right out from between the 2 pieces. We're not going to clean that up. We're going to wait for that to go off, and then we're going to peel those pieces right off there. We won't even have a stain on the surface of this oak. Gonna make it look nicer. Right now we've just cleaned up the transom. And this is the inside of the transom right here. This is the bottom edge of the transom right here. And this is the center line that we developed on it before. And I could just take a square right here if I wanted to. And just give it a little quick line right up the middle here. It's not necessary really, but that is the center line of the transom. And the transom is 66 inches wide at the bottom. So we're going to have a line on here 33 inches from the center line, which would be right here. So now that I've got a mark here at 33 inches from the center line right here, I'm going to use a square, a nice framing square, and hook it onto the bottom of the transom like so. Hold it down nice and tight, and just strike a nice line right up at the transom right here. Now I'm not going to cut it on that line, but I'm going to use that line for a reference. And I'm going to add 3 inches to the top, because I know that what makes one of these skiffs look nice is a 3-inch pitch in 2 feet. So what I'm going to add is 3 inches at the top, way up at the top here. Make a little mark right out here. That's where it's going to get cut. But I don't even need to have a line on there, because basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack a straight edge or clamp a straight edge 5 3/8 of an inch away from where I want to cut it. And then I'm just going to follow that with the skill saw. Now we're cutting both ends of the transom off with the circular saw, one from the bottom up and the other from the top down, both on a 4-degree bevel, and that's left us with this. Now here is our completed transom right here. It's made of just 2 pieces of white oak, and this is the top and that's the bottom. We're going to cut out for the outboard motor a little bit later on and put some corner posts on them, but we don't have to do any of those things right away. And we're just anxious to set up, so our next move is to cut the chines and rails out, and we're going to start putting this boat together.